As Sarah Matthews pushed open the revolving doors of her office building, the evening air greeted her with a chill that signaled another harsh winter in the city. She wrapped her scarf tighter around her neck, watching her breath form small clouds in front of her. The bustling streets were covered in a layer of snow, and the glowing city lights cast long shadows upon the late commuters rushing to find warmth. Despite the cold, Sarah felt invigorated as she reflected on the day's successes at the small nonprofit where she worked. As she made her way through the crowded streets, she noticed a figure huddled against the cold. He was sitting on the steps of an old church, his body hidden under layers of worn and tattered coats. A thin blanket was draped over his shoulders, and a frayed hat was pulled down low over his ears. Sarah couldn't help but feel drawn to him in his current situation. She paused for a moment, her heart aching at the sight. When their eyes met, she felt an overwhelming sense of empathy wash over her. Slowly, Sarah approached the man, careful not to startle him. "Hello," she said softly. "It's freezing out here tonight. Would you like some hot tea or coffee?" Her voice carried through the cold night air with ease. The man looked up at her with surprise written across his face. It was rare for anyone to offer him anything more than spare change or ignore him completely. "Coffee would be wonderful," he replied hoarsely. With a smile, Sarah gestured for him to wait while she went to a nearby cafe that was still open for late-night stragglers like herself. Within minutes, she returned with 2 steaming cups of coffee and handed one to the man who introduced himself as Michael. "Thank you so much, Sarah," Michael said gratefully after reading her name tag still pinned to her coat. His hands trembled slightly as he took the cup, reveling in the warmth that spread through his stiff fingers. They sat together on the church steps, and Sarah felt an unusual sense of peace wash over her as they talked. Michael shared bits and pieces of his story, while Sarah listened intently, never taking her eyes off of him. She learned that he hadn't always been homeless. He used to have a job, a home, and a life like anyone else. But a series of unfortunate events had stripped him of everything, leaving him wandering the streets in search of a forgotten dream. As the night grew darker, Sarah felt a strong sense of responsibility towards Michael, not just to offer food or money, but to offer dignity and respect. And with this realization, she made a decision. "Michael," she said firmly but kindly, "it's too cold for you to be out here tonight. I live just a few blocks away. You could come to my place and take a warm shower, get out of the cold for a bit." Michael's eyes widened at her offer, a mix of hesitation and hope flickering across his face. It was such a rare act of kindness that he felt tears well up in his eyes. "Are you sure?" he asked in a barely audible voice. Sarah nodded, her decision resolute. "Yes, I'm sure. Let's warm you up." Together, they trudged through the snowy streets until they reached her place. Sarah's apartment was a cozy space on the 3rd floor of an old building that had seen better days. The soft glow of fairy lights draped around the windows created a welcoming atmosphere that contrasted with the harshness of the outside world. As they climbed the creaky stairs, Sarah could sense Michael's hesitation. She knew that inviting a stranger into her home was risky, but her gut told her it was the right thing to do. Inside, she led Michael to a small bathroom stocked with neatly folded towels and toiletries collected from various hotel stays, little luxuries for someone who had nothing. "Take your time," she urged, handing him a clean towel. "There's hot water and some clothes on the rack. They belong to my brother, but he won't mind." Michael's hands trembled as he took the towel, avoiding eye contact with Sarah. "Thank you, Sarah," he murmured with emotion in his voice. The simple act of kindness and privacy were overwhelming for him. As he closed the bathroom door behind him, Sarah went to prepare some food in the kitchen. She heated up a stew she had made earlier, hoping its warmth would bring comfort. She set the table with mismatched plates and utensils, each piece telling the story of her unexpected journey through life. Meanwhile, Michael stood under the steaming water of the shower, letting its warmth soothe not only his body but also his soul. He allowed himself a moment to just be, a human being deserving of care and compassion. When was the last time he felt like this? The hot water washed away both physical and emotional scars. After a while, he turned off the shower and dressed in the clothes Sarah had provided, a pair of soft jeans and a warm sweater. They were a bit snug but comfortable. Looking at himself in the mirror, he hardly recognized the man staring back at him. He looked normal. Not like someone who belonged on the streets, but like anyone else. When he emerged from the bathroom, the aroma of stew filled the apartment and his stomach growled in anticipation. Sarah smiled at him from the kitchen. "I hope you're hungry," she said. "Please take a seat. Dinner is almost ready." They sat across from each other at the small table, with food between them serving as both sustenance and a connection. Michael took hesitant bites, savoring the rich flavors of the stew. They talked over dinner, the conversation flowing more freely now. Sarah shared stories about her work and her dreams of making a difference, while Michael spoke of his life before homelessness. After their meal, Sarah and Michael moved to the small living room, which was decorated with soft cushions and shelves filled with books and framed photographs. Michael placed his teacup down with a soft clink, interrupting the peaceful quiet. He took a deep breath, visibly shifting in demeanor. The atmosphere thickened, heavy with the weight of what he was about to reveal. Sarah sensed the change and turned her gaze toward him, curiosity evident in her expression. "Sarah, there's something significant I need to tell you, but I'm not quite sure how to put it into words, so I'll just come out with it," Michael began, his voice steady despite his trembling hands. "I'm not exactly who I've led you to believe I am. Yes, I'm homeless, that part is true, but I'm not entirely without resources." Sarah frowned, confused by his confession. "I don't get it, Michael. What are you saying?" Michael paused for a moment, looking down at his lap before meeting her gaze again. "I'm actually a wealthy man, or at least I was until recently. I've been diagnosed with a terminal illness," and he hesitated, struggling to keep his composure. "And I've been seeking someone to inherit my estate. Someone who embodies the compassion and kindness that the world sorely needs." Sarah halted, her teacup stopped midair as disbelief washed over her. "You're what?" "Michael, this sounds unbelievable. Are you serious?" "Yes, absolutely serious," Michael replied earnestly, nodding gravely. "I have no family left, and the friends I once had were more interested in my wealth than in me personally. Living among those with nothing has helped me find someone trustworthy for this responsibility. When I witnessed your kindness towards me without knowing anything about my situation, I realized you could be that person." Setting her teacup down slowly, Sarah felt overwhelmed by the revelation. It almost seemed surreal. "But why me? We hardly know each other. How can you be certain I'm the right choice?" Michael offered a sad yet understanding smile. "Sometimes you just know these things. In one evening, you show me more kindness than I've encountered in years. I've observed how you treat others and your dedication to making a positive impact. That's precisely the kind of person I want to leave my legacy to." "How? How much are we talking about?" she finally managed to whisper. Sarah leaned back in her chair, feeling her heart thumping against her chest. The decision before her was daunting. Could she take on such a responsibility? Could she honor Michael's legacy and make a meaningful impact? "Take your time to think about it," Michael spoke gently. "You don't have to decide tonight, but know that my offer is genuine, and it comes from the deepest admiration for who you are and what you do." Michael stood up and excused himself to retrieve something from his worn leather backpack. When he returned, he placed a bundle of documents on the coffee table in front of Sarah. "These are bank statements, property deeds, and my medical records," Michael explained with a steady voice but a hint of vulnerability. "I know this may be overwhelming, but I want you to feel confident in the truth of what I'm telling you." With a mix of curiosity and caution in her eyes, Sarah began to go through the papers. The numbers and legal terms painted a reality far beyond the humble surroundings they were sitting in. These documents revealed vast wealth and investments across the world, along with a medical report disclosing a terminal illness. The stark diagnosis with no hope of recovery made everything more real and pressing. Michael observed her reaction, trying to gauge her response. "I approached it this way because I needed to see people's true colors when they had nothing to gain from me. I've been disappointed countless times," he confessed. "But tonight you showed me kindness without expecting anything in return. That's rare." Sarah lifted her head from the papers, thoughts racing through her mind. The gravity of Michael's situation and his offer weighed heavily on her shoulders. Could she handle such a fortune? What would she even do with it? The possibilities seemed limitless, but so did the potential risks. "But why me?" she asked in a barely audible voice. "Why not donate to a charity or foundation?" Michael smiled, a melancholic and longing smile that revealed his loneliness. "Because organizations don't make people feel truly seen," he explained. "They do important work, but I want my legacy to have a personal touch. I want to pass on my wealth to someone who recognizes the individual in the crowd, who understands that each person matters. And I believe that person is you, Sarah." The weight of his trust and the depth of his isolation hit Sarah profoundly. She contemplated the moral implications of her decision. If she accepted this fortune, she could fulfill her dream of making a difference in the world. However, the thought of benefiting from another's misfortune conflicted with her values of fairness and meritocracy. After many hours of discussion and contemplation, Sarah reached a decision. "I'll accept," she stated, her voice trembling with hesitation. "But on one condition. We establish a trust. The money will be used for projects and causes that we, or I after you're gone, choose together. Your legacy will be about empowering others just as you've always hoped." Michael's face was filled with relief and gratitude as he nodded in agreement. "Thank you, Sarah," he said simply, his voice thick with emotion. They began planning their next steps together. Sarah would meet with Michael's lawyer to understand the legalities and structures necessary to manage the inheritance responsibly. Their partnership was built on a deep mutual respect and a shared vision, marking the start of a new chapter filled with promise and meaning. In the following weeks, Sarah and Michael grew closer as they settled into a routine. Every morning, Sarah accompanied Michael to his medical appointments. Sarah arranged meetings with estate planners and charitable advisors to ensure that Michael's wishes for his fortune would be carried out effectively. They worked together to create plans for philanthropic foundations, scholarships, and community initiatives that Michael had envisioned but never acted upon. Throughout this process, Sarah's admiration for Michael grew deeper. She saw a man who, despite his flaws and past mistakes, was genuinely trying to make amends and leave a positive mark on the world. Their journey together was not just about preparing for Michael's eventual passing, but also about creating a vision that would endure beyond their lifetimes. It was about establishing a trust that went beyond legal and financial matters, rooted instead in shared values and an understanding of life's fleeting nature and the lasting impact of genuine kindness. One morning, they met with Michael's longtime lawyer, Mr. Caldwell, in his office. After exchanging pleasantries, Mr. Caldwell addressed Sarah directly. "Michael has explained your involvement in his plans, which is quite remarkable given the circumstances. Trust like this is rarely seen so quickly." Sarah nodded, understanding the gravity of his words. "I am honored by Michael's trust, and I am committed to fulfilling his intentions with integrity." Michael interjected firmly yet warmly, "Mr. Caldwell, I have never been more certain about anything in my life." Sarah's compassion and vision aligned perfectly with my own desires. The lawyer nodded, accepting Michael's reassurances, and proceeded to lay out the necessary steps. They reviewed legal documents such as wills, trust deeds, and directives for future philanthropic endeavors. Sarah paid close attention, asking thoughtful questions to ensure her full understanding of each clause and its implications. They discussed creating a charitable foundation and how the funds would be allocated to support community projects, scholarships, and causes that were important to both Michael and Sarah. Mr. Caldwell also outlined the legal measures that would be implemented to protect the integrity of their philanthropic goals. "It's crucial," Mr. Caldwell mentioned, "that we set up a board of directors for the foundation. Sarah, while you'll be in charge of operations, the board will provide necessary checks and balances and bring diverse perspectives to potential projects." Sarah acknowledged this, understanding the importance of having a team to achieve the foundation's objectives. As the meeting came to an end, they signed, notarized, and witnessed several documents. Michael observed this process, feeling the sense of tranquility wash over him. He had seen many agreements finalized in that room, deals that contributed to his empire, but none felt as meaningful as this one. Once outside the lawyer's office, Michael inhaled deeply the fresh air and surveyed the city with renewed appreciation. "Thank you, Sarah," he expressed earnestly, "for everything." With a smile reflecting newfound resolve and purpose, Sarah replied, "We're just beginning." Her mind was already buzzing with ideas and possibilities. After completing the formalities, they stepped into the waning daylight, prepared to start a mission that would not only honor Michael's legacy, but also enhance it by transforming his wealth into a source of opportunity and hope for many others. As weeks turned into months, Michael's health inevitably started to decline. Sarah devoted more time to being with him, not just as a supporter, but as a true friend. Their discussions often extended late into the night. Michael imparted invaluable wisdom from his business experiences, lessons on resilience, ethics, and vision, which Sarah absorbed eagerly. Each story served as his way of preparing her for future responsibilities. Michael's moments of clarity diminished. One calm evening by a softly crackling fireplace, he presented Sarah with an old leather-bound journal. "I've penned some thoughts and principles I live by," he said softly. "I hope these can guide you when I'm gone." With mixed reverence and sorrow, Sarah accepted the journal, acutely aware that their time together was limited. Sitting beside him, she read its contents aloud at times so that his words could fill the room even as his voice became quieter. One late evening, Michael passed away peacefully while holding Sarah's hand. Sarah was left heartbroken for weeks. Soon after, the Michael Goldstein Foundation for Community Renewal was established. Addressing a diverse crowd of community leaders, volunteers, and residents, Sarah spoke with confidence and clarity. This foundation is more than a memorial to a man who saw the potential in others, she stated. It's an extension of the belief that everyone deserves an opportunity to rebuild, to be recognized, and to flourish. As she addressed the audience, a screen behind her displayed images from Michael's life, from his time as a successful businessman to his period of homelessness till his final months still with purpose. With Sarah at the helm, the foundation expanded, becoming a symbol of hope and a driving force for change in the community. Every project, grant, and life influenced by the foundation carried forward elements of Michael's legacy and Sarah's commitment.